Today's episode is with Oliver Pestalozzi. He's ex-Google and actually built Google's own paid ads program. He then went out on his own to build his own growth partner business. He's got his own paid ads program, he's got his own community, and he has a solid client base of advanced services businesses where he helps them grow through paid ads, lead gen, and conversion funnels. We get into how he applies the 80-20 principle to build a really effective business and how AI has really changed the game when it comes to paid ads and conversion funnels and lots of other practical details to building this kind of business. So let's get into it. Here's Oliver. Hi, Oliver. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. So what led to the decision in 2025 to fire most of your client roster, and who made the cut?
It's a big question. Listen, I think it was a period of a lot of reflection. I basically had to kind of decide on the future of my business, on the kind of work that I wanted to be doing. And honestly, I had been through a period of time where I'd left my role at Google and I'd taken on so many freelance clients, all of which were coming my way, and I didn't really have to try too hard to get clients. And so suddenly I found myself in a position where I felt like things could only go one of two ways, literally. So it was either I get an office, get staff, and go the kind of traditional marketing agency route and just grow a business. Although to me, that felt somehow unintentional. I'd never set out to do that. I'd never set out to grow an agency. Also, let's not forget, I think that over the last few years, we've just seen an absolute proliferation of agencies to the point that no one needs another one. And I always felt like I just did not want to be counted among their ranks. I really had a vehement kind of desire to not be associated with all the digital marketing agency kind of grifters out there. So I really was in this dilemma where I realized I'm being overworked right now. I'm not able to work on my real goals. I'm not able to really even set goals because all I can do is work and not have time to think about the future. So instead of hiring staff and growing a team, I decided to actually specialize in lead generation. And at that time, about half my clients were in lead generation. The rest were small pockets of businesses that didn't even have specific goals. They were doing brand awareness or a lot of e-commerce. I was working with major e-commerce ASX listed e-commerce businesses. And it was a decision to really cull them down and just focus on quality and doing excellent work. So overnight, it was a huge decision. I think I really had to journal on this one. I literally fired, it was 75% of my clients.
Wow.
Yeah, but get this, they were responsible for about 20% of revenue, just to show you how lopsided my business was. So I think that speaks for itself when I was able to reduce my workload by such a significant degree and only reduce my pay and my revenue by 20%. It was ultimately super worth it. And of course, the funny thing is, then 2 months, 3 months passes and you're doing really great work for the remaining 20-25% of business. And suddenly they're referring their friends. And suddenly, because the whole standard is elevated, you just naturally start growing again, and it's almost unavoidable. So now it's been 6 to 9 months. I was looking at the numbers actually in preparing for this interview or this podcast, and it's basically just been a steady growth in revenue since then, but with the right kinds of clients.
Yeah. Amazing. That's you are really taking that. I mean, I think you just said 75-25, but you're really taking that 80-20 principle and putting it into business practice. So yeah, really cool to see that. And so you mentioned there, that 25% of your client base that you kept. What were the real factors that there was the revenue and how much they were making you, but how did you sort of categorize and then niche down into what truly is your niche?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, I think, as I mentioned, I had some major e-commerce businesses, which I don't mind e-com, but I've always found it to be super transactional. It's very, very technical based on the data feed, and it's very much just numbers and return on ad spend, which it is in lead gen as well. But in lead gen, I saw this sort of avenue, something that I'm very interested in because of my own personal background, which is in sales. I was in a sales role at Google. And I really liked the aspect of being able to support businesses not only in generating the leads, but then there's a whole consultative element of like reporting on how long does it take us to call the leads, what are the conversations like, who's picking up the phone, being able to measure the performance of different sort of sales reps. I find that quite interesting. And so for me, it was like, I don't want to just grow an agency doing everything for everyone, because that's how you just do average work. So I thought, well, what am I really interested in? And it was lead generation. Like it was this idea of generating leads, people, and starting conversations and being able to communicate your sales, your kind of value proposition to them and selling them. So for me, it was, are they in lead generation? Do I like them and want to work with them?
That's a big factor.
I mean, seriously. And also, it was like, what's the scope to grow the business? Because I didn't just want to be left with a whole bunch of small local lead generating advertisers that didn't have maybe the ability or even the desire to grow. So I wanted to work with really hungry, kind of like advanced small business owners.
Yeah, nice. No, it's interesting. You mentioned there, like, do I like them? Because it's true. Like, you've got to. I mean, for me, it's my question is like, is this going to be fun for me? Like working with this client, with this partner on this project. Is it going to be fun? Because if it's not, like, why am I doing this? Am I, sacrificing an unenjoyable experience for some money? And so yeah,
Totally.
I always think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So like really working on that positioning away from like agencies and who notoriously have massive churn. Like when you're doing everything for everyone, how can you actually run a solid business and get, serious results for your clients? So, and positioning away from those agencies, there's, thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of them out there. What are your big things when it comes to, driving your retention? Because your retention rates are really long, right? You say most of your clients you've worked for over 12 months or so.
Exactly. Well, I think when it comes to retention, at the end of the day, people just want to feel that you care, that you're literally there for them, and you're not going to screw them over. And I think that in the world of digital marketing agencies, there is a bias towards long-term partnership if you can fulfill those three things. So I really think when it comes to retention, I'm obsessive about retention to the point where I've built automations to help me stay on top of my relationships with my clients. I'll be messaging them just before going to bed. I'll be on the phone, but not from a sort of an exhaustive, like, burnout perspective, more from the sense of like, I actually have built personal relationships with these business owners. And so when my client had a baby last month, I sent his wife some flowers. When, when the World Cup's on in the US in Houston at the moment, one of my favorite clients is based in Houston. Messaging him, letting him know the date so he can take his boy to the games. Like, I think it goes beyond just, hey, here's your ROAS and here's what I did for Google Ads. Like, we've built personal relationships. And you also, the thing that you can't actually fake that. Like, if you build a personal relationship with someone, if it's coming from the right place, then you're just bound to maintain a long-term partnership because you're incentivized to do good work for them because you care, you want to succeed, and you're proud of your own work. And you've built a relationship with them, you don't want to let them down. So I think for me, it's just purely based on relationships.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that again comes back to that that question of like, do I actually like them? Because if you, if you don't, you're not. You're way more likely to just organically, naturally build a great relationship with the people that you work with. So
yeah, and I think there's a compromise to be made there, because if you're trying to grow the world's biggest agency, then of course you will compromise on things like that, and you will work with people you don't necessarily you wouldn't want to hang out with on the weekend, and you will do things for the purpose of commerce, for the purpose of making more money and growing your agency. That was never the intention. That's why I'm culling clients. That's why I'm really trying to do excellent work, and I'm investing so much time into reporting and dashboards and results rather than running my own paid ads funnels to get 15 new clients by the end of the month. Like for me, it's a long-term pursuit of doing excellent work with people I like. It sounds like a good life.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You mentioned you used to work for Google. You now, specialize in Google Ads, paid ads, like and the lead gen side of that. What's in this day and age in 2026? What's changed the most over the last few years when it comes to everything that's going on in that space?
I think it's a big question. I mean, if you look at when I joined Google and the state of Google Ads at that time, so many of the campaign types available to us, the definition of keywords, the bidding strategies we were able to choose from have completely changed to the extent, even the interface itself has completely changed. So many aspects of Google Ads as an offering have moved in this direction of essentially stripping manual controls back away from the advertiser in favor of automation and AI and machine learning. So Google was one of the early adopters of massive kind of machine learning protocols and implementing this into their advertising programs. They were really the pioneers. So when it came to Google Shopping, for example, while I was there, we were in the pilot program, literally launching Smart Shopping. Some of your listeners might remember this, which later became Performance Max, and Smart Shopping has since been completely deprecated. And so now we have this sort of Performance Max, which is a way of running shopping campaigns, which is entirely, largely kind of a Frankenstein automated campaign type, which maybe you've tried as well, which is just, again, indicative of the moves that Google are making towards AI and automation when it comes to their advertising programs. Because in an ideal world, I gave a seminar on this actually the other day, and this is sort of a slide I remember we had, Google would really automate the entire process. It would essentially be... they would automate the ad serving. You would basically just give them your credit card and say, we want more leads, and they would do the rest. They know everything about all of their customers. They know everything about everyone who's browsing on Google. In fact, the manual interventions of the advertiser are sometimes inefficient. If you think about it, us trying to determine that we want to reach women aged 55 plus, Google probably already knows that. And we've seen the same reflection of this kind of tendency in Meta, with Advantage Plus shopping campaigns and generally speaking, just Advantage Plus revolutionizing kind of the game on Meta, making it a totally automated platform where people don't even worry about audience targets anymore like they used to. Now it's almost entirely a game of creative and playing around with different kind of hierarchical structures of how many campaigns or ad groups you should use per creative. But largely, Meta have taken all the heavy lifting away. Now people are just focused on making scroll-stopping ads. So I think across both platforms, there's really been this move towards AI and automation, which for advertising agencies has been the cause of a lot of concern over the last few years. Because it's like, well, if the business owner can do it all themselves, what value are you really adding? And that's the whole question.
Yeah. That's super interesting. What's your solution or answer to that question then?
Well, I think it's following a common thread from why did I fire my clients? Like, I think so long as you're not adding much value, you're in a precarious position. And that's obviously just pretty obvious, I suppose. But if you put yourself in my shoes a few years ago, where I was doing a bit of e-commerce, a bit of lead generation, a bit of brand awareness, some YouTube campaigns for any business that would pay me, I had a massive client portfolio. For one man, it was a spectacle. Like, it was literally, I almost was amazed with myself at being able to maintain that. But I also realized I wasn't able to do excellent work for any of them because I was doing only good work for all of them. And so by niching down, by specializing, what's happened is that I've gone from being a guy that was a specialist in Google Ads, which I am still. But now, of course, I don't position myself as someone who's going to do Google Ads for businesses. The way I talk to lead generating businesses is that I'm a growth partner. I think that's the key thing. I don't even consider my business to be an agency. It's more of a strategic kind of growth partnership. And that's why we work for the long term with the right people. We're not looking for 1,000 clients. We just want a small selection of excellent clients to grow with. And all the clients that we have now are hungry, and they are like the right types of clients. They're hungry. They want to grow. We're talking on the phone all the time. Everyone's pumped. That's the right energy. Now we're covering Google Ads, Facebook, TikTok. Basically, all of the advertising platforms, whatever is needed for that particular market, is being covered. And that's how you start to add more value, because you're not just being paid for one platform, you're being paid to grow the business. So regardless of platform, you're also managing the CRM, we're managing the landing pages, we're building the creative and running that. So suddenly you're doing a lot more things, but also your fee is therefore climbing because you're adding a lot more value. And how important you are to the business is a lot more than just a guy who did Google Ads, which has now been automated by Google, or it could potentially be automated by Google anyway. It's kind of an interesting thing to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. That is exactly right. You're getting in there. It's all about growth. So you're seen as that partner that's all about growing the business. It's not just a commoditized, Google paid ads agency or what have you. You're getting closer and closer to the revenue of the business, the revenue generation. So, not necessarily jumping on the phone and closing sales, but you're so close to that, and you're making that happen in the right way. What's changed in terms of funnels as well? Now AI is so involved.
Well, a lot. Literally everything. I mean, I would encourage, this is, on this topic of kind of marketing agencies and where they're going to sit over the next 12 to 24 months. I really think that it's almost like the jack of all trades who are going to do quite well, because if you're a jack of all trades and you're able to, in the contract you sign with your clients, you're able to specify that you're accountable not for one platform, but in a world where ChatGPT ads are emerging and things are moving so quickly, who knows what platform they're going to need 6 months from now. So your role is not to manage a platform; it's in fact to just get them more leads and good leads. That is, so you have to not only be able to get the leads, but also report on the lead quality, which is a whole other thing. And so you're responsible suddenly for a vast swathe of business growth. And yeah, like you said, that's pretty close to revenue, which means you're going to get paid for it. And that's where you have to be. Now, you asked about AI. One thing we're doing now, which is becoming more and more popular, I imagine, is full detailed AI conversation agents that when the person submits a lead, essentially the agent is responsible and has the full context of the business, and it's got its goals set, and it's been briefed on frequently asked questions, and it's got a massive kind of prompt that's been put into it, in addition to a knowledge base and parameters on what it can and can't say. It's basically just going to have a conversation with that lead, and based on what your goal is, it will work to achieve that goal. So I was just before this call looking at some of the conversations that this AI agent's been having, and it's crazy. They literally are speaking to leads. You can set how many seconds it's going to take that agent to respond. It could do it in 1 second, but sometimes it's best to make it more like 20 seconds so it sounds more human-like. In one of them, the lead was so happy with the conversation. This is literally what I just read, that the person said, "What can I call you? What's your name?" And the agent said, "Just call me the so-and-so assistant for now." And the lead was like, "Great, see you on Monday." And it's a full conversation that takes place. All of that at 9 p.m. at night, by the way, when the client's salespeople are not even working. And it's changing the game completely. So you see as well, if you're able to position yourself as a growth partner, you're then responsible, as me and the team did, for researching new methods, new tools, new ways to close leads to grow the business, because that's actually what you care about, not just getting great Google Ads results.
Yeah. When you're talking about those agents there, are they taking place inside chat interfaces
So in that case, it's actually just Go High Level, the CRM, which I'm a huge fan of. I use it for everything. I hadn't used it until a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, maybe. And then I've just since kind of onboarded all my clients onto High Level, and it's complete. It's basically just the way that we run things, and it turns out it's really effective.
Yeah, nice. You so you mentioned that's the conversational AI and the funnel, and you're creating that, so you're collecting way more data from leads before they even book a call. So you're gathering all that data, which creates this intelligent data situation where you've got so much stuff from your client and their prospects and the leads that they're speaking to. So that just makes you more and more valuable to them in that sense as well, rather than just passing them leads and then that's down to their sales team. So yeah, really cool. And then you also mentioned on the reporting side, so you're leveraging AI to report to your clients, give them way more visibility on what's going on. How does that work, and what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, so it's a good point. You mentioned kind of the data, like because we're using so many different ad platforms, but we've been able to centralize all of the lead activity into that one CRM. It did raise the possibility of almost pooling all of the client data across clients. And that's something we've actually developed, which has changed the game for us, which is like, I call it the brain, the Pestalozzi digital brain. So it's basically, it is a dashboard that's live online. Obviously, you need a password to access it, but it is a full repository of all of my client data. So that means every lead that comes through at any moment is automatically pushed into this one database. That means that every dollar spent on ads on Google, Facebook, TikTok, even ChatGPT ads or X.com is all pulled into there. And all of the leads, of course, are attributed back to the source that they came from. So I can see that, Mary Smith not only just came in as a lead, but also that she came specifically from the landing page that we use for Google Ads. So she's a Google Ads lead, and she gets tagged accordingly. Sometimes people do Google Ads and then they come from Facebook again a week later and they get both tags, but we're able to see which they came from first in order to kind of attribute like the cost per lead per platform. So I thought I'd actually share my screen a little bit and show you what it looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
If we want to get exciting,
I'd love to see some of your client dashboards and what they can see.
For sure. So this is actually, keep in mind, an internal dashboard. So clients aren't seeing this, which actually makes it more kind of more interesting, in my opinion. This is the raw data of what us at the agency level are actually, or the growth partner level, I should say, are actually using, right? So essentially, I've blurred out all the key details, but we're looking at the homepage of the dashboard. It's got today's date, where I can see the spend month to date. I can see how many active days there have been in the last 7 days. I can see how many active days we've had in the last 30. Now that means actually how many days we've been active making changes in accounts, because I also want my team to be accountable and I make sure that they're actually doing the work. And this is all, by the way, all of this data is stored in Airtable, and the dashboard is just sitting on top of Airtable, which has all been vibe coded through Claude Code work.
Awesome.
And so here we can kind of see a table with all the client data, how much they've spent, the budget, which I can change at any moment, and it's going to change the pacing, which tells us, are they on track to spend the full budget or not? And for me, this has changed the game, because at a glance, I can basically see, hey, it's been 6 days since we've adjusted that particular account for that client, and I can just see that very, very quickly, prompt the team to make a change, or make it myself, and kind of go from there. So it's been super impactful. If I was to click on any of those clients in particular, it gives us a much more detailed breakdown, which looks like this. Of course, I've kind of blurred out the key details here, but we've got month-to-date spend, and for people listening, I guess it's easier if I explain it, but we've got month-to-date spend on the top alongside monthly budget and the pacing percentage. And then we've got the actual funnel details. So we're talking about how many new leads we've got, what's the cost per lead, how many of them booked in the free consultation, which for this business is the way that their funnel works. How many people showed up to their consult, how many people closed. Now, all of that is managed through tags that the leads receive based on what stage they are in the journey. And then we can see, just further metrics for performance of Google Ads leads versus Facebook or TikTok leads, organic leads, people who just walk past, for example, the business, rather than coming from paid ads. We want to be able to report on them. And it's all stored in here. It's all charted. Any changes made can be put onto this chart here, so that we know what's going on. We can assess the impact of any changes. We've got a full change log. Again, this is all change. Like, speaking of change, it's changed the game for our business, because not only has it helped me to manage myself and my team a lot better, but also to assess performance of clients and get them better results. So it's kind of like a big win on that front. And then I can see actual leads and their names down here, where they came from, what stage they're currently at. And that's basically so that when I'm speaking to clients, I can go, okay, what about, this particular lead? It says that they came from Google yesterday and they showed up. Did you close that lead? It just, again, helps inform from the relationship perspective, a little bit more context, especially when you consider that many of the clients that I work with are in fact overseas. So I want to be able to have just details, snippets of information to be able to call out and talk to. And this dashboard has really been a huge game changer on that front.
Yeah, that's incredible. And did you say you developed that yourself, like vibe coded?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It probably took though. What was hard about that was not the dashboard; it was the connection of all the data to Airtable. So I had to use make.com to actually automate the connection of a lot of the data points into Airtable and then format Airtable correctly. And once it was in there, that was probably 80% of the work. And then the last 20 was just putting it onto a dashboard. That was actually the fun bit. The hard part, like I said, was connecting all the dots in the back end.
Yeah, I can imagine that's the fun part, because you've done you've made it all work architecturally, and then you're actually getting to see it visually, and it actually comes into fruition, and then you're like, wow, this is incredible, because
totally. And can you see from that how useful that would be?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes everything data driven rather than clients having questions and you're trying to. Yeah, I mean, there's the emotional relationship side, which is super important, but then at the end of the day, it's like there's the data and the data-driven outcomes, which is how businesses grow, and you're showing that visually, you're showing it, in real time, if it works in real time, or however it updates into the database. Are you connecting that to Go high level, or is that separate?
No, it is, yeah. So all of the lead data, so all of the ad data obviously comes from the respective ad platforms, but high level is where all the leads are, and the leads get tags based on where they come from. So all the leads from high level are connected to this as well. So it's a really centralized place for high level, as well as the ad platforms.
Yeah, really cool. That's just centralized brain of your company. You've become this like internal software, almost an internal SaaS rather than just an agency or even a growth partner. You're combining, internal software.
Yeah, well, it's even like, it's just, again, because if the focus is on doing a good job, and you have, like, I've got a relatively small, relative to some of the big agencies, a relatively small portfolio of clients that I work with very consciously and deliberately, then I have, I guess I have the time and the interest and the motivation to just work on innovations like that and deliver a better job. Because you mentioned the relationship, and I think early on you asked me, what's the secret to such long retention? And I said the relationship. I should have mentioned the other side of the coin, which is of course results, which I forgot to mention. Because I think like without results, the relationship can only go so far.
Yeah, for sure. But it definitely is both. From my experience, it's both. And they both help each other. But yeah, I mean, you're demonstrating there the data-driven side of outcomes, and even when things aren't working, obviously if you've got a great relationship, that helps to give you more time, because they trust in the fact that you're going to make this work. You just need more time. Maybe obstacles have arisen that were just not possible to anticipate at first, but you're showing the data, and the data also tells that story. So yeah,
exactly.
It's really cool.
Yeah. And I'll just add one more thing as well, which is that like I think a lot of the agency owners, maybe the people listening, in terms of incorporating AI. So I think there's what we just showed, which is like the reporting dashboard sort of standpoint, which is a given, and you can get really advanced. You can go in even further than where I've taken it. But there's also now, literally in the last 1 to sort of 3 weeks, very legitimate MCP and connections to the ad platforms to actually make changes themselves. because this is just reporting so that we can go make changes, but there are actual ways to get the AI to make the changes as well. So for example, I've now started exploring every single Monday at 9 a.m. Each of my clients' Google Ads accounts, the search campaigns in their Google Ads accounts will be reviewed. And based on the search terms relative to the keywords, the AI will do a little analysis and determine what should or should not be excluded and send that in a report to me and my team. We'll then read the report and from the live HTML file, tick the boxes for the changes we would like it to make that it has proposed and hit execute. And it will then upload those changes once a week. And they're just basic changes for now. It's adding negative keywords from search terms, which anyone who's done Google Ads before would have a rough idea of what that means at the very least. But the fact that it's happening so systematically is really game changing, saving a lot of time.
Yeah. Amazing. How do you, so obviously you're very on top of like current changes when it comes to AI and the tech advancements that are going on. Like you mentioned, there's just been some, over the last couple of weeks, like releases in or advancements in the MCPs so you can connect to ad platforms. And there's much more data and automation available to you. How do you kind of keep on top of this crazy fast pace of AI and how it's changing the landscape so quickly, whilst actually just, actually being productive and getting on with the work and providing the outcomes to your clients? How do you kind of balance that?
Yeah, well, I think it's just time management and prioritization, right? For example, I think I always know if we're not at a place for a given client where even if the client doesn't even know it yet, if I feel that we're falling behind with results, then it's the kind of thing like I will know it today and the client will call me about it in a week. So I always can feel that, and that's always the priority. So yesterday, for example, I sat down, I had a whole bunch of amazing tasks that I wanted to do, and I ended up just having to push it all back because a particular client's results weren't there, and I had to sort of really dive deep and understand why. But that being said, I have managed to get the business to the point now where I've got an amazing small team who are kind of responsible for certain things, and we've been doing it for a few years now. So it's a well-oiled machine to the point that I can focus on things that are going to move us forwards, like building amazing dashboards and platforms to track things and maintaining client relationships, speaking to lovely people like you, while I can ensure that my team are handling some of the more time-consuming, lower value-added tasks, compiling reports, connecting platforms to each other, just doing things that are just time-consuming. I think it's just been an exercise in delegation.
Nice. What kind of team size have you got? And are they remote? Like sort of overseas, like VA types of employees or contractors
So no VA whatsoever. It's literally just three of us, myself and two full-timers. And they are both overseas. We've been working together for 3.5 years. They started out as part-timers with me, and I actually at the start of the year decided to kind of bring them on full-time. They're completely separate, but they're just an amazing small tight-knit team.
Nice.
Yeah, deep experience in kind of e-commerce. One of them has a little bit more e-commerce than lead generation experience, but overall it's a really good balance, and we've found a great way of working together.
Yeah, nice. And because you've kind of spent a lot of time building stuff solo. What happens when you decide that you're going to then start bringing on teammates? Is it just like, okay, these tasks can be delegated, so I need to find somebody to do them, or how does that kind of?
Again, it's such a great thing to reflect on, like firing all those clients, because I could have easily just taken on staff at that point. But then the broader intention, so what, you're taking on staff to handle just accounts where there's no broader mission or point to any of it. You're just taking on anyone who's coming your way. Whereas if you're able to say, like, strip it back, actually define your purpose, define your mission as a brand, as a business, or even for me as an individual, then the team becomes almost a necessary tool to fill in the gaps and to like achieve the goal that you've set. But I don't like that idea of just having so much work come your way that you have to then hire a team to handle it, and especially if it's coming from all different directions in a way that isn't actually in line with your goals. So when I was able to strip the business back, it became like, all right, now I want more clients. Now I want to grow, but I know what the types of clients that I want. I know the type of work we're going to specialize in. I know where I want to take this. And so I had no trouble whatsoever with hiring someone at that point in time. But I hated that idea of hiring someone out of necessity because I was just overworked.
Yeah. Your own sort of growth engine is really interesting. So it's like it's community led. You've got this front end low ticket sort of training product or program on the front end to ensure that you're bringing buyers into your world, into your community, and then you kind of get clients from on the back end through developing relationships through that community, through your email list. Tell me a little bit about that, how that works, and what why you decided to go down that route rather than the normal sort of agency client acquisition way of getting clients.
Well, look, in many ways, it kind of fell in my lap. Like when I was at Google, I was being flown around to train thousands of marketers and entrepreneurs on Google Ads. And that was a large part of my role there. And so I always loved training. I always loved public speaking. When I left Google, literally for fun, I launched an online program teaching Google Ads from my bedroom. It was basically just sitting, not quite the bedroom, but maybe the spare bedroom, sitting there, filming modules, teaching people Google Ads. And then I launched it online. And I think 2 months later, I had 0 sales, and I was like, okay, that was a waste of time. Onto the next project. And then I remember I got a sale, and I manually emailed the guy, and I was like, his name was Rob. I was like, hey, Rob, like, thank you so much for buying this thing. I think he spent $300 on this program that I'd spent 6 months building. And I was like, mate, I would love to jump on a call with you and just like talk you through it and help you. Like, I honestly was just feeling like I wanted to like do more and help people. And I just find that sort of stuff fun. And he was like, yeah, sounds good. And just never booked it in, and we never did it. And then anyway, sales started to take off to the point where there was like, I would wake up in the morning and I'd done like 26 sales or something while sleeping, because they were all people in the US and I was in Sydney. And suddenly the base of people who had purchased my Google Ads program was growing and growing. And so I added on an option there for one-on-one consultations. I was like, does anyone want to sit down one-on-one? I think it was an optional add-on at checkout. So if you buy the course, you could have the option to get a discounted one-on-one. And 15% of people who bought the course would then take the one-on-one also.
Nice.
And so suddenly I was meeting hundreds of people, running a sizable, legitimate business from my room, meeting people all around the world. And many of them would say, hey, look, I love the course, but it's just too much for me. I'm too busy. Can you just manage it for me? So suddenly, and again, none of this is planned. None of this was some sort of master plan. This is just like me launching a program, having some fun, meeting people. And again, coming at it with the right intentions of just like, hey, like, let's sit down and I'll help you. And anyway, then all of the clients that I now have, I think 80% of them are people who met me and found me through that online program, which is super interesting, because it became a huge acquisition funnel. I don't even want to call it a funnel because it was never intended to be that. That's just what it turned out to be. And in my head, it became a big thing of, well, am I trying to build a big Google Ads teaching business, or would I rather do the work? And ultimately, I've consolidated things to what I think is a beautiful, cohesive brand now, where I do the done-for-you work that we've kind of been talking about for clients that want that handled for them. Then I still do the coaching community, like the Google Ads course. I've got a conversion tracking blueprint course in there as well. I've launched, we do weekly Q&A calls. We do masterclasses and workshops all in the community, which has been, again, just sort of a fun kind of passion project, a way for me to engage with people. I think that might be how you found me as well.
Yeah, you have a school community.
Yeah.
Which there are predominantly buyers of your program, right?
All of them, exactly. Yeah, so it's not a free community. Like I see some of the free communities with like 70,000 members, and every post is like, hey, can I have a job, or some random kind of thing. I don't know, I kept it as a small paid, it's almost like a tripwire thing where you have to pay to get in, but once you're in, you're just in for life. There's no ongoing fees. Its purpose is not to make money. Its purpose is to qualify people, and just get them into the network in a way that's requires a little bit more of a commitment than just getting in for free.
Yeah.
Because then they're going to actually attend the workshops. Then they're going to attend the masterclasses. That's what I want. I want an engaged community. I don't want a big community. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a bit of a cull and like almost removing like inactive accounts, because like I said, I just don't want sort of a big empty community.
Yeah. There's no better way to pre-qualify people than, to see if they're actually willing to, pull out their credit card and spend money with you with, the mission that you're trying to help people achieve.
Yeah.
So when you built that program, and then you had that buyers list, and then you create the community as a bolt-on, so you've got the email list and the community too, which kind of, I'm assuming, worked really well together with your your marketing, your teaching, your help and support. How did you originally get traffic to and get people to buy your program? Because you said, it took a few months before you got that first buyer, and then you all of a sudden started getting 20 plus people buying your program like overnight whilst you sleep. That sounds like the dream of getting qualified buyers into your world.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, man, it's very simple. It's funny actually. It's quite ironic. It was a Google Ads program, and I didn't spend $1 in Google Ads to advertise it. All of the it was nothing but paid ads. Not a single cold email. Not a single organic post on Instagram. Nothing on LinkedIn. Nothing anywhere. It was a pure exercise in direct response marketing using paid ads on Instagram and Facebook. Right. That is it. Nice. And so we did a few thousand sales, and to people who are now in the community, right? People who are still, because it's kind of like a lifetime access thing. And I still go back and even this week I'm updating a bunch of the modules to reflect 2026 edition. But yeah, it's quite an interesting thing that I just think that for all that's said about posting on Instagram, about the need to post 5 times a week on LinkedIn, and just like content, everyone feels like they're falling behind. I've built a very sizable, legitimate business without posting one piece of content. It's just through a pure understanding of the role of paid ads. What can you do with them once they're into the network? Obviously, delivering good work for an extended period of time and staying ahead of the curve with developments in AI and things like that. But actually, it's for me. I think that's great, because the need to post truckloads of content is like, it seems like the most exhausting thing.
Yeah, for sure. Are you still running like ads to that now, or have you kind of like just built it up to the point where you've got a big enough community and what have you? So
that's where it's at now, is that there's no ads on right now. That being said, what I want to do is update it again, just make sure it's fully fresh and right for the 2026 kind of world of Google Ads. I'm lining up some guest speakers into the community, lining up some kind of cool giveaways, PDFs and workshops and things like that. If I'm going to relaunch ads, it'll be into a thriving community that's there ready to go. We just did a big workshop last week on Claude, building a second brain with Claude, which was really cool, went really well.
Nice.
But we're just in the process of planning out the rest of this year, and at some point we might relaunch ads.
Yeah. Very cool. When you were running ads to that and getting those buyers, was that profitable, like right out of the gate on the front end?
So I said that when I started the project, I said I'm willing to invest 10 grand in ads, and if I get zero, if it's not looking like it's going to be profitable after a $10,000 investment of ads and exploring audiences and creative types and maybe working on a landing page, like I said, I'm just going to work really hard while spending 10 grand. And I think I'd spent $3,000 and still not made a single sale. And I was like, "Ooh, this could be interesting." And then I got a sale, and so then we obviously had a $3,000 cost per acquisition. I was like, still not gonna work. And then we went from one sale to like 2, and then 3, and then back to 1, and then 5, and then 7. And like I said, then there was a period of time where it was just it was really, really growing quickly. And then we expanded the ads from the US to South Africa and the UK, and now if you look at a map of the community, there's literally people in Israel, in Australia, in Japan. It's really kind of a broad kind of spectrum, which is really cool.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I absolutely love that. I love that. Yeah, you almost accidentally, but you say accidentally, but you're kind of following. Like you're just focusing on the next step of what you're doing. So you wanted to create a program because you were basically a Google Ads expert working for Google. You wanted to create that program, so you did that, and then the next stage was, I want to build this community. I want to drive paid ads. I want to start creating loads of buyers, and then I want to start helping them more. So how can I do that? And you've created this sort of ascension model, and then I don't want loads of clients. I just want to work with, go really deep as a growth partner for the clients that I really want to work with, that I can really help provide, so much value. So you've kind of created this model organically, and it's really cool, really interesting.
Yeah, like it has been. That's the thing, is that it's not a master plan that I sat down years ago and like came up with. It's just been, okay, like, I got heaps of Google Ads clients, and then in trying to add more value, I learned Facebook ads, and I added TikTok on top, and LinkedIn and Pinterest ads, and suddenly all the ad platforms. And then it's like, okay, well, the thing is, I'm getting all these leads, but some of them are going into spreadsheets, some of them are going into email. Okay, I need to like master a CRM and then centralize it all. Okay, now I'm really good at CRM management. And it's like, okay, more recently, okay, we're getting you leads, we can track them, it's all good. And they're saying that the leads aren't good. So now I'm working on building AI agents to do the sales process. And suddenly you look back and you go like, holy shit, I have built a total smorgasbord of skills here that have all been necessary, that have turned me into a bit of a weapon when it comes to growth. And I think that's, coming back to the question of which marketing agencies are going to survive versus thrive. I think it's the ones who are growth oriented, and you can only really have that if you have multiple skills. And that can be done through one person or many people with different skills.
Amazing. Well, Oliver, I really appreciate this conversation. You shared some absolute golden insights. Where can people find out more about you?
So just head to my website, pestalozzidigital.com, or you can Google my name, Oliver Pestalozzi. That's a bit of a mouthful, but Pestalozzi. That's Pestalozzi. Pestalozzi Digital is my website for the done-for-you lead generation services. On there, you'll also see the option to explore the Lead Gen Academy if you'd rather learn how to do it yourself. That's my one-on-one coaching offer. And then, of course, if you're just looking to kind of learn Google Ads, or you want to explore the community, you'll find that on Google as well. It's under the school community, which is by the same name, Pestalozzi Digital, SKOOL for school. And feel free to jump on in there and shoot me a message, and I respond to every single email. So I'd love to hear from you.
Perfect. Well, I'll add some of those links in the description below too, and I look forward to just continuing watching your growth with great interest. It's really cool what you're doing, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.